Wasn't correct in my name. JSSE on there.
You know, I don't know, did he score?
He did it on the other one too. And I just crossed it out, I think, and
Yeah.
put the name on
I
it.
think I missed that.
Might have to work weight over.
Yeah.
Robert's there, Robert Elton.
Yeah.
I just signed it, Robert.
He's slacking.
You're up. Yeah, one person watching. So, somebody can wait on it.
Yeah.
Angie, we got our energy bill here, $1,300. You know, we hear about all the spikes. In Leroy, I don't think they had any spikes, or I didn't visit the Oswald. Any spikes here in Burlington Falls? I don't know how this compares to the other months.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it, I can look it up here.
I'm just curious, but
I know as the weather starts to warm up, the gas bill will basically be next to nothing because of our new system we have, so.
No, go ahead. Just talk on that.
When we switched to the new system, you guys weren't here to tell you the story, but, after we switched over during the summertime, basically our gas was almost a few dollars, $30 or something, and Atmos came because they thought something was going on, that we were spilling energy or something, and they had no idea that we had gotten a whole new system, and that dropped our gas tremendously. I think we recouped all of our costs in about, I think it was 6-7 years on that whole project.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
with what we were wasting in fuel and,
Yeah. Wow.
How did you do that?
Well, I'm still paying, so. The electricity, we really haven't seen anything. My daughter did, she lived in town, but the electricity's so high in town. Well, it's cheaper than it is out in the country. One of them.
Angie?
Yes.
I think all these names are supposed to be blacked out on this.
okay, I'll take care of that. If you look at it, maybe.
Set those and she picks them up later.
Is this yours or is this something you need to sign?
I'm sorry.
Is that yours?
Yeah. That's all.
Jesse has it.
Okay, I'll wait till you're done.
He,
Oh, I'll look at it, wait, I'll just. Don, that same bill last month was 1,162.
I'm sorry.
That same bill last month was 1,162. And
Wow.
And the weather pretty crazy, this is $200 higher, but the weather created that too, so.
yeah. And in February, it was 2,023.
Which would be
winter.
pretty common. That was ahead of the cold snap.
Yeah, and January was 1,991,
How much?
1,991, so I think it's pretty well,
so they stayed pretty close.
Those doesn't sound like we got any spike.
and then,
That's all good thing came out of that 2-week cold spell, took care of all their own bills. Haven't seen one.
I seen one this morning hit.
And I haven't seen ever, seen one. And we've had a bunch of them. They were all out there during that warm weather ahead of the cold snap. They did great job made it back into it.
Really? Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Clear.
Mhm.
Yeah, Corey.
There you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bob, you're signing fast.
Seen that, you know, how much to look at, how much not to.
Angela, there's one here from Coffin and Campbell, which is attorneys out of London, $3,300. I don't recall seeing anything quite that size. I don't think there's a lot of court going on. There's a lot of activity going on, of course, going all the way back to February and March. So I suppose that'd be,
What's the vendor's name?
I'm sorry,
Vendor's name?
Kaufman and Campbell LLC.
How do you spell coffee?
COFFMAN. Of course, everything's being done with Zoom now, and I'm sure it's probably. I don't remember one. We have all these attorneys on retainers at $1,000 a month. I don't remember Kaufman being one of them.
Yeah, this is their district court.
There's 3 pages of activities, so.
Yeah, it has to do with district court.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all,
I can call
just a
Kelsey.
little bit higher than,
Do you want me to have Kelsey come down?
no, I don't. There's a lot of activity there, so.
You describe the outreach time they've done something,
Yeah,
how much
yeah,
it is.
there's a-
That
there's a
just comes to-
description on there.
Comes to that total.
Evidently, we had to use it a lot more than normal. It is, I think it is a 2x2.
You may not have anyone.
Yeah, we gotta get through this pile first and then.
I will, I'll bring some. I'm not sure what happened.
I think
Do what?
if it all gets mixed up, I
Yeah,
said, I'm not
that'd be
sure.
happening.
Yeah, I said, I'm not sure what happened, but I don't think it's good. Sorry, I had to step out.
I read pencil here before too.
And here's one, I don't know whether you could have it. $2,500, it's going to the health department, and I can't. I don't know how to pronounce it. Discipline supplies for the new preschool daycare. School to cover shipping, but we're covering $2,500. That's something we're gonna, since we're opening up that new daycare at school, that's something we're gonna be seeing occasionally.
Probably just a first time setup
Yeah, that's.
deal would be my guess.
There's not much explanation. I don't even know what that, I can't.
Schools covering shipping.
Shipping, they're covering shipping, we're covering
Conscious
fun.
discipline supplies for new preschool daycare. Mental wellness, so it's coming out of that mental wellness.
So now that area that I did wonder if there's gonna be a continuation of it, it isn't.
I think it's startup. I think it's startup. Supplies.
We've got 2 now for the daycare center.
Pardon?
For that daycare center.
Yeah.
So I know we, taking out the vote, we approved donation of 10,000, but that didn't matter. It's going beyond that.
I think that's through the mental wellness group. They've got that. There's several people that are involved in the mental wellness committee. And
I'd say,
they probably approved purchasing that. but it's-
Lindsay Barr can give us a quick,
Actually, that would be Lindsay Care. what they call
yeah,
it.
but through the wellness stuff.
It's not wellness. It's not the wellness, county wellness. It's the mental wellness.
Okay.
Thank you. Then who's the other 2?
You don't have to worry about the retirement account for those.
very reasonable.
Yeah, we're just starting out,
Yeah, real nice,
good people.
yes. Blessing.
Be a big boy if there wasn't anything up in the north part of the county.
And we were facing that,
You got something new for me?
with that clinic, when Aaron came in, well, very good.
I think they had trucks lined up on a Saturday morning down
Yeah,
gravel road.
it was just my impression, I took it that was tipped off 4-inch way in,
He got them on a little
way, I kinda got that impression on Facebook.
So did you all animals?
Yes.
Large and small?
Yeah, they both went to K-State veterinary school, and they both went to Eastern County Vet. Well, they dated, got married, then they both were working at Emporia Vet East, and then they bought Frog Creek out there.
Yeah,
Jerry still does a little bit on the side, I think. He kept the accounts.
I called them one week, and said I'll be there Saturday, told them what done, big mess up, big mess up. So we had to reschedule it, they were very pleasant.
What's the name of it?
I had a pen in my book, and I did not bring my book today. Can you see?
I'll try.
Might not be updated.
Yeah.
I'll put it in at your Coffee County vet there.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. I have the name. Wait, not Coffee County.
That's what I put it in as.
Actually, we got a bill here from GGA PC on the jail study. Remaining balance is zero, they're not completely done with that study, are they? So we paid a bill last month for 25,000, maybe 30. This is the final bill, 32.5.
Probably have to check with
Is
Wade.
that study complete?
Yeah, you probably would have to ask Wade.
Good Wade Peters does?
Yeah, they'll be down shortly.
He gets those, I get them and then I give them to Wade.
But this is the final. And that study, I don't think is completed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to talk to Wade.
The remaining balance is
Yeah,
zero.
wait.
Maybe first what they've done so far. I'll go stop
You're
by
not
his
gonna make
office.
your,
What's the
you're not
contract?
gonna make your,
This actually.
better sign fast, you're gonna make your,
I'll
What do you want to
stop.
He said he'd be down and show.
Okay.
I drove that street up there last week on those two bridges that they completed sometime last month. Sure looked like they done good, and I didn't get out and walk and look, but sure looked like they done a good job
that
on it.
was north, wasn't
Yeah, it's up north there where the bank and go. Yeah, the bank and going straight west, those two.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's the only reason I think I got it. Well, have you heard the fair on this?
The Call County Fair, I haven't heard nothing, I'm sure what is, because it was on, you know, they had it all right. I'm sure that fair is still on.
Did they ever get the carnival back?
I haven't heard nothing on that yet.
I bet them carnival companies about went broke last year.
I wouldn't be surprised. The way a lot of them look, probably wouldn't make much money anyway.
Right. I drive by that, what is it, Midland? Over there in Missouri, right on I-70. Midland Fair Festivals, whatever it is. Kind of looks like a ghost town over there.
I'm sure it's probably still on, but I know that there's a family west of Leroy, it's got 3 kids in it. And I talked about it the other day. They got their animals, so I'm sure it's.
We're gonna have the ECAM meeting back in person. If you want to, you can still Zoom, but we're gonna meet back in person this
Yeah.
coming month.
Sure like to see the support of local business right here. Hoover's Safeway for the jail. I'm sure that's a big shot in the arm for them.
You bet.
What was that?
Hoover's for the jail, like the inmate milk and food and stuff like that.
or should be paying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, they haven't even, the dates haven't even been here yet.
No, for a conference, yeah, but you probably should have one in here, because she won't do, she's paying for 4 days.
Right.
So I don't know.
You would think you'd do that after the fact.
No, we used to pay for conferences before, we used to have one here for Connie for free payment. We have one for Karen. It's just, it's not showing anyone going, it's still paying for it.
Right.
Question. Angie?
Yeah.
Gwen has a free registration for a conference, but she has 0 people going, but she paid for 4 days. Is that just a mistake?
Let me check with her and see. I assume she'd probably be going.
Well, I figured so.
She would pay for it.
Tired?
Can't see them hurt.
Across Midwest, the fall,
I'm on it.
commodity wholesale. Who is this?
Morning, sir.
Okay. I see. Or, excuse me. She is attending. It's just,
Lewis Hole,
she got to it in there, so.
says Cobb County Sheriff's Office.
I didn't read that.
Lewis Hole.
My mistake.
Sometimes they buy tires other places, that comes through one of our locals, but they have to get them.
Yeah.
Yes, it was oil.
Yes.
You learn how to read those.
And this was 111.
You can put it on. Actually, it's just no confusion.
Mountain Riders block.
Feel like I'm back in school when making, I will not talk in class.
I was a bad boy. How's the
Thank you.
HVAC deal coming along?
Well, we're kind of on hold until I can get with Goldberg and talk to him
Okay.
about that. But yeah, I'm still, I get the salary stuff done first so that we can get to go. That's my next thing.
One brush pile at a time.
Yes. And I have a phone call.
Hey, that'd be all right.
I have a call from them today to start building the rest of the salary stuff too, so
Oh,
get it in
okay.
the system. So that'll take us a few weeks probably.
Read the circle part, good thing. Or where it's gonna be at, but we need to find it. There goes Hebert. Now we got a taco problem. Tacos every day.
Contract between $700, 600.
Oh, really? Here's one that'll blow your mind. You think your wood's expensive. 2.5 gallon oil. So 5 gallons of oil, right?
Mhm.
$213.48. Melbourne Marina.
Wonder is it the gas additive?
No, we have to have special oil for, board motors.
Alright.
Good God.
It's common. It happens all the time.
If you would send that over here, I'll get.
$42.69 a gallon.
That's better than oil you put in your trucks.
I got about guaranteed.
It should be anyway.
I've got just a few more.
It should be better.
Okay.
I just thought, I hope it's gonna get done more, I guess.
We'll vote out
Roll
the
it quick stuff.
How come we have to go up there and not get it?
Apparently it might be too cheap in the county, I don't know.
I mean, I've asked that question for years and everybody's, nah. Go with it.
Yeah, I don't even think Ann's will be that expensive. Ann's or Schaefer.
You figure it out.
We're probably 30
Yeah.
to 35, but it's 40,000 miles. So,
Much smoke less.
you know, it doesn't say what brand of motor oil it is either.
No.
Check it. Mileage. Long range. You're quick.
$324. It's been a Wednesday.
Huh? Am I just getting that old and weak? Let's see.
What?
I said, am I getting that old and weak?
Oh, I don't know.
She'll let you answer that question.
fighting that clip. She throws it right on there.
Is Bobby in his office this morning?
Hmm?
Is Bobby in his office this morning?
I don't know.
I got a question on his March 24th mileage.
Would that be, no?
It doesn't say where it's from. It says two-way. March 24th was.
Sick leave, vacation on that check. Why it's-
What day is that on?
24th is on I was thinking maybe it's a work call. I'm not sure.
Angie, does this go with this one or does it go with that one?
Over here, it's payroll, but just go ahead and send it on here.
Is that a first one?
Thank you. I don't know, it's interesting to know, but they're doing it. Yeah. These are like houses. Oh, because they're not. That's how that works.
What is it from here to where you? 15 miles?
22 miles.
From here to my house is about 31, but keep in mind where I live. You can't get any
7
farther.
miles, you 7 miles back from there.
About 22 miles.
22.
22. Feet of them. You went that way, shoot, you take an old 50 to get Rush Cities.
Mhm. I take 22nd.
I would too. No. It's not as expensive.
And then you go home, I'll go up to Old 50 and head over 50 over.
22nd is no county road though.
We put a lot of soil stabilization on both those 22nds, east and west of
Yes, you
75.
have. You have.
That was when Robert was in there, man, we was doing a lot of soil stabilization, which is good. If you want a road to last, that's what you gotta do.
I remember what 22nd was in gravel.
I do too.
I traveled many times on gravel. You put a snow fence up along the north side and keep the snow from drifting on it.
Turn on I-35, they laid the second one. It helped,
It helped.
it helped. I stayed in the truck seat yesterday. I had a pretty good load on, I had 2 units of OSB.
You had to make your load, didn't you?
I felt like I needed armed security.
Did you raise the
Liability,
cargo insurance?
we,
There you look at that.
Yeah, we better. Jesse, we drove, but
Tearing them down, aren't you? I think Angie gave you this, man, this was good.
Yeah, I don't get those.
Yeah, Wade.
how we doing?
Blessed, upright and able to be here today.
See our smiling faces?
Although your face isn't smiling.
One more out.
There it is.
Or slap out. It's all one.
You're dressed down today, so must not be happy. So
Yeah, I
two
was
important
that.
for you today, which is a good thing. I'm not dissing you.
Yeah, that's, I mean, like I say, it's a shot in the arm.
They're doing some work in the courtroom, so there's not court today. But I think we're gonna do it by whatever court we do it by Zoom. We have to do some first appearances for people involved. I didn't really have anything. I just wanted to mention Monday, if you're gonna need me for anything, it would have to be early because I'm gonna be leaving early. I have to go, well, I don't have to. I'm going to go to a funeral in Allen County for the judge I was in front of for the majority of the time I was there. He was a mentor to me. He's the one who introduced me when I originally came to Coffee County. He's been retired for several years, but it's not anything that I missed. So whether it was on a court day or a commission day, I wiped my entire calendar for that. It's that important to me. So it's Monday afternoon.
The only thing I had was, Bobby's got an hour executive session asking for. If that'd be anything you ought to be present for.
That I don't know. What time is that? So
11.
I think it's, yeah, it's about 9:45.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we
Okay.
changed it.
He'll be down here in a little bit, maybe. Might be a question you can ask him.
I mean, I think I need to leave no later than 10:30. I think it'll be a very well-attended service, and if something here needs to be moved, and if I need to be there, then that would be what I'd request, because I will not miss this.
His son is judge also. I'm trying to place which guy it was that was here for that.
It was Tom Sachs.
I know, but I was trying to put it in place. There was 3 or 4 here when you came here for the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to place which one it might be, 'cause I think one of them was, son was also an attorney or a judge. Maybe it's wrong.
I'd have to go back. And
Anyway, okay,
I just didn't want.
I think you should be there.
Time.
If you want to be there, I think you should be there.
Hey, Bobby, was your Monday executive session anything that Wade would have to be present for?
I would prefer.
Okay. And you said that's at 9 o'clock, 9:30, 9:45? If he wasn't there for the full hour, would that probably be?
Well,
You gotta be.
if you do it in 30-minute increments, but if you go into an executive session, I can't
leave.
bail out in the middle.
We might split that up in two 30-minute sections. First section be with him.
Yes, sir. Who is ahead of Bobby?
Angel Fishing,
Yes.
can we move her?
She's from Allen County,
She's
she's coming over to talk about some White House
Bill,
That
building.
30 deal.
the 30, we got briefed on that.
Probably don't wanna bump them since they're coming from out of town.
And the hospital administrators, we'll know that next week, yeah, hospital administrators here right at 9:05 in this monthly report.
Yeah, you don't take very long, but you got a way to get a hold of this Angel?
I could contact her back if you want
See-
to.
Might move her
see-
back a little bit.
Yeah,
I can try.
That way she wouldn't have to be here as quick.
pardon me?
That way she wouldn't have to be here as quick in the morning.
Correct, yeah. That way everybody can get done what they want to accomplish, if that's okay. If that's gonna push you, then we'll do
Give
that.
yourself plenty of allowance.
Sure, I just wanna let you know in advance, because it's something I was just made aware of that I didn't know when the time would be, and that's just the time slot I'm going to.
We'll see if we can push this.
So, yeah, so we can put you at 9:15, that would, and then have her come about 10:30. That way if you.
We just gotta leave by 10:30, so what you said.
At the latest.
Preferably sooner, but
That would work.
Well, if I only needs 30 minutes of you, then that puts you at 9:45, so.
preferably if I can be out of this meeting by 10 at the latest, then.
Again, not to push you, but I mean, if you'd rather, we'll just have to put it off for another time.
And I think if we can work that with that 10 o'clock timeline, that would be my preference.
Okay? As long as it'll work for you.
Yeah.
Send an email, so we'll see if she can reschedule.
Okay. If she can't, then we'll just put Bobby off. Okay?
Right.
Split it.
And I don't think, as the crow flies, I've missed a Monday meeting since before COVID. So that's not something that I make a regular habit of.
We'll stay out of trouble. No guarantee. Right.
How about this? If you run into something that you feel like takes you into the chocolate waters, you call.
Or we'll just postpone.
Oh, you don't want to call you during a funeral.
Would catch you.
It'd be easier just to postpone.
Yeah. That's even better.
We can do that. If need be.
Don, you had a question about that GCA invoice.
I didn't get what invoice was even.
It was on Goldberg.
Goldberg's final invoice.
Oh, yeah,
Final
Goldberg.
invoice.
Got an invoice for $32,000 and we just paid him some last week also. It was on hold because we didn't understand the invoice we paid a month ago or whenever. So this in here says the final invoice, remaining balance is 0. That study's not completed, is it?
I need to look at it.
Because it does say the remaining balance is 0. I take that as it's completed.
Hey, Bobby, I had a question on your mileage from Ware to Waverly.
Yes, sir.
You've got 115 miles
Yes, sir.
from Ware to Waverly, from here. If you went to many meetings at Waverly, is that what it was, or was that just one trip?
It was one trip. Do you have the mileage?
Yeah.
Bob?
Yeah, traffic. You've got 115 miles listed, so I didn't know where you was coming from.
That may be the combined amount.
Okay.
She took my actual logbook.
Okay.
My vehicle. I can verify that.
That's fine, I just didn't know if you think it's multiple times trips.
I have been up there multiple
Okay,
times.
yeah, that's fine.
You are aware we do have county vehicles that you are welcome to use.
On that note, would you mind if I speak on that, just on the tails of this? The approach I find myself, well, what, the situation I find myself in is I'm leaving the office periodically throughout the day to, run down the road. Some instances are very short trips, just a few miles. But that adds up throughout the day. And I saw that in the first few weeks of working here. And naturally it was heavy during this initial period because I'm out trying to acclimate myself and orient myself to the community. But, and I expect that to slow down. And I think it has started to. So I went and saw Miss Angie and explained my situation. And so she reserved a vehicle for me for a block of time. Began using that vehicle. And the other situation I found myself in is some travel would be kind of in the gray area. For instance, if I go to the Gridley City Council meeting, it lasts into the evening. And from there, I want to come home. I know it's a minor detail of stopping back by the courthouse, but if I take my son out to eat right behind that, I don't want to be in a county vehicle. So those longer periods of travel, I'm trying to weigh out the public perception versus practical use. So it would be good to take a look at that at a later time to see, to keep an eye on the travel for that reason. It may be wise just to, like Ms. Andy suggested, just to block out an entire month of use for the county vehicle. But I'm willing to do whatever the county requests, but my travel's pretty high.
It's gonna be, if you're doing your job right, it's gonna be. Yes. I was not saying you're good, not doing your job.
Yes, just saying. And I'm aware you're going to use your vehicle, but I just wanted you to know that there is a county vehicle available for you to use.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
We have them, we need to be using them.
Yes, sir.
I mean, do they gotta sign up for it?
Well, the two pool vehicles, we do, because they're not used nearly every day all the time, but, we will have sometimes where we might have a sheriff's office and another department needing vehicles, and those two would be used. So I kind of just let him take, what is that, Edge?
The Ford Edge.
Yeah, he's using the Ford Edge mostly, and so that leaves us with one pool vehicle. So, and so far, we haven't had any problems, but,
I don't have any problems if you're in the company, in the county vehicle and you're bringing your son back from one of the meetings and you want to stop in and have something to eat. I don't have a problem with that. There's a county vehicle stopped at restaurants and.
Another thing I don't have a problem with is if you're in a county vehicle and you're going to Gridley, take the vehicle home that night. You don't need to come back to the courthouse and drop it off. You're coming back the next morning anyway.
Yes, sir.
Save yourself time.
I appreciate you saying that. That does help. I just want you to know I'm concerned about how the public sentiment is important.
I'm sure it doesn't matter what you do, there's gonna be somebody that's gonna have a different opinion, but
Yes.
I'm okay with it. But I'm okay with it.
Get home and get to sleep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Bob. What's that? Oh, you're more than quick. I didn't realize you only had one left. There wasn't enough sarcasm in that. No, don't sign it. Send it on. Do you have something you want to share with us, Tom?
Mr. Johnson have signed it.
Tom's fine. That's fine.
You know what happens out there.
Oh, I do.
There's three of
Good
them.
morning, all.
Morning.
I told you I had my TOO down the other day. You were kind of busy, so I felt that I could bring it up next Monday, but I got it done, and I remember you were here and just wondered if you wanted to look at it. It's completed. I haven't signed it yet, but I'm going to be more happy to sign it and look at it. It is not only for the sheriff's office and jail, it's also, I have a copy of the lake. So all of my entities are here if you would like to look at it. I'm sorry I don't have multiple copies. You want to look at it, have any questions, I can answer those.
I had a question on the lakeside, and I don't know, they got 5 gallons of motor oil at the marina, Melbourne Lake Marina. It was $213 for 5 gallons. I didn't know what kind of oil it was.
It's got to be marine oil.
Right,
Yeah. I don't know specifically what it is, other than they normally go up to that marina and get all their parts and do all of our work there because they're certified mechanics.
Is that, what motors do you have?
Just the big boat motor is all.
Right, but I mean, what outboard, like brand, is it Mercury, is it?
Yes, I think it's a Mercury. Yeah.
We've asked that question before, and they said that's the one place they can get it.
Yeah, well,
Which is maybe understandable, so.
Kind of like guns and ammo. The prices went up, were unbelievable.
oh, yes. Oh, yes. Speaking of ammo, who's your supplier for ammo?
Where we can get it, sir.
Where,
Where we get it. Right now, Boyce Moses, who you wouldn't know that name, is a retired firearms instructor at the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center. Boyce is retired, and Boyce is a representative of a manufacturer of ammunition.
oh,
And we have, in fact, we have a bid in with him right now to get stuff. And he can get us everything except our duty ammo. Right now, that is in such high demand. We can get all the practice ammo, you know, that they have it. But just finding the specific duty ammo that we've tested in the past,
Right.
we know its capabilities, that's just difficult to get a hold of. You know, and just so you know, you're gonna see a bill that's come across your desk at some point. The price of ammunition has increased about 400%.
yes.
You know, it's unbelievable from what it was a year ago.
Yeah.
When I transitioned in, and Randy let me come in, we were short, and I said, listen, if it's an opportunity for us to purchase, let's get some purchased. And we did. So December, January, we purchased almost the exact same amount, is over half as much. It's more than doubled in less than 6 months.
Yeah.
So we thought if we're gonna get it now, it's not gonna go any cheaper. You know, if we need it, let's get it bought.
A year from now, the price today is gonna still look cheaper.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, I mean, everybody across the state has said, if you have opportunity to get it, you better get it. So,
It's not gonna spoil.
no, it's not.
Look at the sheet here, Tom. You got 6 vacancies in your department right now, and then 5 in the Lake District.
No. So we have 6, well, I don't know, there's 4 to 6 or whatever, just in the reserves. That's non-paid employees, just a reserve program.
It does say reserves, so those
Yeah.
are not,
Those are not paid employees. Those are as a reserve program. You know, we have reserves that go out and work the lake. Or Randy, for generations, for years, wanted no more than 10. And 10 is about the most that you want to try to deal with when it comes to reserves. Because again, it takes so much training for them to get up to a level for us to be able just to turn them loose. The use of force policies, the weapon policies. So 10 is the most we want to deal with as far as administration wise. And I think we have 4 or 5 right now, and that's great. I mean, if we can keep people coming in that want to help, that we can look at in years past, and we have an opening like now, for example, we want to use those people that have that experience if they want to move up, in the law enforcement.
so right now, you just got 2 deputy positions we're currently on.
That's correct. One from missing that is no longer here, and then this new position I asked for on Monday, yes.
Do we train the reserves or any way, or they?
Yes, we do.
That's our.
There's 3 criteria that they must reach of training before they're on their own. They have to be with somebody continuing. They can't even wear a gun for the first section. They can ride along, learn, they have to have training, have to pass examinations where they move up to level 2,
Right.
and then obviously on to level 3.
Do we provide a vehicle when they're when they go out. I know from past that they do lake patrol during the
Yes, sir.
weekend. Do we provide a vehicle for that?
Yes, we do. They actually bought that vehicle from us in the past, and we keep it, we maintain it. How we work that out is their money that they receive from their lake contract. I take out a portion, Randy has, I haven't had to do it yet. Randy took out a portion of it, well, he just kind of guessed what maintenance and fuel was, and the rest of it goes into their account. And they used to buy their own weapons, buy their own uniforms, their own radars, body cameras. And we try to work that out half and half, you might say. They'd say, we want something, if it's viable, I'll pay for half of it. So they've got a pretty big nest egg built up in their reserve. And again, they work hard during summers to work that lake. And there's a lot of stuff goes on out there that people don't realize, but they're a good group of people. Very happy to have them.
Everything back to the lake, totally back to normal on hours.
Yep, everything's back to normal hours, and then from what, I was out there just last week, sitting down with the guys, and I'll admit, I stopped to drink a cup of coffee with them, and just sat down and talked to the guys, and people are coming in, continuing wanting to fish, because fishing's good right now. I didn't realize there was so much people wanting to come in, fish for the flatheads and the blues. There's a lot of guys come in there, go back there in those trees and fish for those big fish. Guys are very happy. They sent some documentation into me, economic development or Amber, somebody needed some numbers. We keep all that stuff on the computer. They printed it right out. How many people are bank fishing on a regular basis? How many boats come in per day? I have a meeting out there tomorrow. Wolf Creek has proposed we have a cleaning station. Don't ask me a lot because Don didn't know a lot, but I'm assuming the cleaning station is for the zebra mussels. And I'm going out tomorrow to meet with Wolf Creek representatives and the lake personnel to see what they're proposing we do. We don't know anything else other than they're going to bring this cleaning station for a demo and talk to us about it. We don't know if there's going to be extra activities that we have to do or what it's about. It's just they wanted to have this meeting tomorrow.
Cleaning station for the boats or for the fish?
Sir, I'm assuming it's for the boats. Those zebra mussels are an issue, always have been.
I'm sure.
And
Especially
so,
with the intake piping and the.
exactly. Yeah. So, we try to look at live wells, ask if they've brought in, something water from another lake, because that's how they get moved from place to place. And so I'm assuming, again, I don't know, but I'm assuming that it's a cleaning station for boats.
Do it on entry or pre-entry and leave, maybe.
I'm assuming so, sir. But I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Just clarification, when we talk reserves on the lake, I'm thinking, and you might have been thinking too, we were talking, a lot of they do is John Redmond Lake, correct? Patrol it during the weekend. They don't do that anymore?
John Redmond?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the reserves of the lake, I'm
The
sorry.
reserves,
No, the reserves are John Redmond.
or John Redmond, because then Don started in on the lake, and I think he was talking about that lake, and I just want to
Yeah.
verify that there were actually two different lakes.
Yes, sir. Yes, Coffee Canyon Lake, is where this cleaning station is possibly coming in. Our reserves are contracted with the Corps of Engineers, Tulsa District, to do John Redmond.
I thought the reserves was for the Wolf Creek Lake.
No, sir. No. That's our lake attendants that work out there. So, sorry about that.
Zebra mussels, are that an issue at Salt County Lake?
To be truthful, sir, I'm sure they have to be, but I don't think they're an issue on the dam side or the gates like they are, the seriousness of that they are at Wolf Creek because of the intake.
Some of the lakes got serious issues with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the Corps talk and biologists talk, but that's just something that the Corps, Tulsa has put out, Tulsa District. And again, hopefully the things that go on at Wolf Creek, and we try to be as diligent as we can. And of course, Wolf Creek has those biologists and everything to set that up and work with us on it. And again, if they say that that's what needs to be done, that we need to help, assure that zebra mussel population stays down. And if it's nothing more than helping them clean, we'll do what we gotta do to keep that open because it is an economic project that again brings a lot of people in. So we'll do what we gotta do.
You don't seem like you hear near as much about the zebra mussels last year as we did 2, 3, 4 years ago. That's not saying they're better than they were, it's not saying they're worse.
I think when nobody's out fishing because of COVID, it's just not been in the limelight. Once like yesterday's beautiful, was warm today. And people start out, and again, you know as well as I do, it doesn't matter what the temperature is there, because of that open water all year round, there's guys fishing all the time. And so even though per capita it may be a small number, those diehard fishermen, it doesn't matter, they're gonna be at the lake or the city dam, whatever it is, fishing. So many days I wish I was fishing, but it is what it is, so. So do you have any questions on my TOO?
I did not.
Would you like me to sign that, sir? And then I have a little, I don't know whether this is the right time and place, but I have I guess a motion here that says, I, Tom Johnson, propose a motion to accept the Coffee County Sheriff's Office Table of Organization as presented, to include the restructured positions of administration within the department and including the recommended pay level per position according to the recently adopted scale through the McGrath study embedded to the county clerk's payroll department.
Is there any major, we haven't seen the organizational study, is there any major changes in it at all, Tom?
There is none. All I did was
So
put in,
everything's identical?
everything is identical, other than I went ahead and put in the positions that I've asked to be filled. So other than that, it's
But
exactly.
the chart itself is still identical?
Chart is exactly that I presented to you when I first took office.
Just moved
All second?
and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes 5-0.
May I have that motion, Tom?
Yes, ma'am, I'll give you that and all this, if that's okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign this. What is today, gentlemen?
25th? No, 28th, sorry, 28th.
And I got this one here, Tom.
I take those are magnets that hold your flashes together.
Yes, sir. Just go like that.
I'm just watching you do that. I find it kind of amazing.
I started learning these back when I was an investigator. So 2004, I bought a pair off the internet because, as well as I do, those you wear glasses. You have a pair in the truck, a pair in the office, a pair at home, and then I would drop them, lean against them or whatever, and then forget where I put them. If you just put these on your neck, then you don't lose them.
Tried to talk me into a pair of those years ago. I haven't done it yet.
It saves your frames, because these here, you're taking your arm off your face, it bends your frames up.
I leave these here because I have a pair in my garage, a pair in my truck, a pair in my office, a pair in the house.
This is
There are use on the farm. And then the ones.
you stay.
I'm surprised you don't have one on order.
There are many signatures there for you, sir.
That's one for you.
I'll give this all to you. Would you please, when you get done, just email me a copy of that so I can have it in my file? Thank you.
How's everything going your first 4 months?
I've said this before and I'll say it again. If it wasn't for my staff, I'd be, in an institution. And again, I'm not gonna pat myself on the back. I brought in some great people to help me out, but that office staff doesn't get paid enough. They are on the ball. They know exactly what's going on. I've been to, there's some things that got thrown at us, as I told Wade. Sometimes you open up a box and there's a box of snakes. And again, you get startled, but if you leave them alone, they'll slither off. And then you just realize that you were startled and you just have to keep your cool and work at it. And that's what we've done, thank goodness, with the administration that I brought in and that's currently here. I couldn't describe that, but I'm very, very happy. I told my staff since I took office, I don't expect us to run, but if we take one step every day, that's all I want is one step. As long as we can take one step forward every day, we'll be fine. and we have taken one step forward every day. Very, very happy. And again, you know as well as I do, you know, I've already said, it's time for budget meeting. Budget's gonna be coming up. I've got it scheduled to have everybody together to have budget meetings. Not that I didn't do that when Randy and I were together, but it'll be new for me, sitting in a different chair. And, so it's all started, it's new. Luckily, I've got someone say, hey, you remember this needs to be paid in your signature day on this or whatever. So it's all working out. I'm very, very happy where I'm at right now. And I appreciate all your support. I know it's only been 4 months, but being able to come down here and talk to Wade and just sit down and talk to you commissioners, and you've been great with me, and I appreciate every day that you guys do that.
We all gotta work together.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. Is there anything else I can answer for you gentlemen, ladies?
I'm good.
Thank you, Nancy.
The only question we had was on that jail study. And Wade's standing over there's got a little information evidently. But
Yeah.
it looked like that was the final bill, because it brought our remaining balance down to 0. I wasn't sure the jail study was completed, based on what he told us here 2 weeks ago.
So just to clarify, I contacted Goldberg's office. I thought I knew the answer, but sometimes you know what assuming does. Although the final version of the renderings for the jail or whatever the board decides to go with or what direction is sort of a fluid and moving working document at this point. This is the last bill. There won't be another bill from what I was just told. And he will continue to work with Coffee County, or GGA will continue to work with Coffee County on the project. He's heavily involved. He's working the majority or exclusively for the most part with Tom, because Tom has the lion's share of what is going to be a part of this project with the jail and the sheriff's department, and then the other portion is just, space for either the court or the prosecutor's office. So that, I think it's okay to go ahead and sign it and get GGA paid, because that's what was presented to me. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, we're just prepaying something that still isn't totally finished. I've got a little, it's okay and it isn't okay.
As long as the communication and then the work continues to move forward.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, but if it drops and they're gonna be on
But
telephone.
we don't have a recourse, so
If you wanna hold off, I can.
I've signed it, maybe all the rest of it, I'm not sure.
It's just one of them things, you're just prepaying for good faith, I guess.
Can we hold out a percentage?
I'm sorry?
Can we hold out a percentage?
How about we do
Depends on how the
this?
contract's written. May not be able to.
But how about we do this? Nothing is final until it's
We can hold it if you want.
and we can get Goldberg on a conference call, not today, because I don't want to put him on the spot like that, and not know what's happening. But then you can hear out of Larry Goldberg's mouth what he's doing, what his plans are, and I completely understand where you're coming from. I think maybe I'm in a position where I've been working with them, Sheriff's been working with them, and behind the scenes, we know what he's putting into this project, but that old saying, the check's in the mail, also it comes to mind, and you want to be comfortable and know that you're getting a final product, and I guess from your perspective, we don't have that final product yet.
His presentation the other day, I thought was fantastic. I think we got an awful lot of information out of it. I'm just, I don't know how the contract was written, but I'm sure that final funds going to him probably should be paid until the project is complete. And that may be a month down the road, now it might be 3 months down the road. We don't know the time frame.
I just don't wanna end up with a house with no windows.
I've got a lot of trust in what he presented the other day, but I'd kind of like to see it finalized before we issue a final settlement too.
Well, my opinion, if you've been dealing with it, if you think it's fine, I'm fine with it. If you think that it's not, fine. So personally, I don't need to meet with the guy to do it. I'm gonna leave, you and Tom have more confidence and trust. You've been dealing with him, so I'm kind of, whatever you two decide, I'm okay with it.
Well,
Can I say something?
yep,
Again, I understand your concern. My concern.
Technically, it's not a concern to some degree.
I understand, but I'm just, if, let's just say that this goes through, that the public says, yes, let's do this. And he says it's gonna be 14 to 15 months from the time they have to break ground to the time they turn the keys over. And are we gonna say his job's still not done? 14 or 15 months after we go through all this other process? You know, I can tell you, I spoke today with the Lynn County Sheriff, who Larry Goldberg's company is building theirs. They're pouring concrete there. And he says that, I mean, that Goldberg and Associates are there every day. Not Larry himself, but their project manager. He spoke with Larry yesterday. I spoke with Larry yesterday, and I spoke to the secretary today, getting some more information. You don't know Larry any better than I do. But I cannot believe that Larry would now, he's in this, whether he likes it or not, he's in this. And again, we're not paying him millions of dollars to start this. We're paying him $32,000. And I know that's a lot of money for the constituents here of Coffee County, for taxpayers and for people that supported me and you. But I just can't see keep pulling this out and saying, okay, what date then are we gonna say that his job's done? It's not done until the keys are turned over to us, in my opinion.
I think Goldberg has been in this long enough, he probably knows. You know, he's not a.
Once this particular study's done though, they'll be a part of a new contract.
That's right.
Moving ahead, which will be big dollars.
Yeah.
So at some point, this study will be complete, and then up to us to review which way we're going. And whether that's 30 days away, that may only be 30 days away to reach that point. Might be 60 days, we don't know.
but you have to understand the GGA Larry Goldberg name, reputation, and goodwill are on the line with any project that his name is tied to. So if you look at it from a business standpoint, what does he gain if he gets paid and then pulls out? And
It's the reason I tried to clarify it when I started it out.
he's been a part of, from what he told us, approximately 300 designs that he's doing now, going back. He's been in business for, what do you say, 30
40 years?
40 years.
Yeah.
And at least from the people who have been, the sheriff's talked to more people about Goldberg than I have, but he appears to have a solid name and reputation behind it. And there's also a part of the project that is being worked on behind the scenes to be able to talk to the commission at some point later on down the road that is a new and innovative idea that I don't think he's gonna ask for anything for, because he's so excited about that part of the project. And when you have somebody that is willing to invest their time and energy into something, and just because it's new and innovative and they want to be a part of something potentially special, I don't know, I think that speaks volumes. So,
I think
The record and expectations, evidence has been fantastic, so there's probably nothing wrong going ahead.
I think on our part of it, we signed it, we approved it. If we had questions, we should have asked them before we signed it. To me, it's been signed and everyone has signed it and approved it, so I'm okay with it.
but there were some speed bumps last year with who the communication was going through, and whether it was going through, and you have to remember, we had an emergency management director that then left, and that was someone that Goldberg was coordinating with. We had a chairman of the board that Goldberg was communicating with that left in the middle. And then you had a sheriff who was working with Goldberg that is no longer the sheriff. So the only constant this whole time was me, and there were certain points in time where things were presented to the board, and one was late last year where I had no idea what was happening. We have cured all those issues. The communication is direct and going through the sheriff as it should be, and he sort of is the point of contact for the county. And then if there's any issues, then they can bring me into it, but that's where it should be. This is first and foremost a design and implementation that needs to focus on the jail and the sheriff's department, because that is the number one priority of what we have here in Coffee County, and then the rest of it sort of flows from there. So,
seeing how we're talking about the jail, I had some people up in the northwest area here is talking about the mental side of the jail, and I guess it'd be for Tom and for Wade. So say you get mentally challenged people sent in from the state, whatever, maybe. When it comes to release time, or if there is a release time for whatever, somebody being held because of mental, do they just get released into the air at the Coffee County site, or do they get taken back to the original area?
Let's talk about scenarios. I think I understand what you're saying. So let's talk about scenario number one. And that's sheriff's office goes out to domestic. We go out there and one of the individuals is suicidal. It's not a true domestic. There's no crime that we feel that they're a danger to themselves or others. So we take them and we take them into the hospital, or here we can do assessments in either place. And an assessment's done. And that assessment says, you know what, they need to go have some treatment. And whether they have insurance or not plays a big part in it. Let's just say that they need to go to Osawatomie State Hospital. The issue then becomes that mental health professional calls and says, hey, Os, we need a bed. And they say, you're number 16 on the list. We'll call you when a bed becomes open. Now a mental health professional said they are a danger to themselves. You're right. Okay. So we take them into court and we get a care and treatment started. And the judge says, you know, you are right. They need to go get treatment. Then what do we do with them during that time? That's the big issue across the state. Now, once that person comes back, and that's a Coffee County resident, and they'll go back for treatment. Someone comes in from the outside. Let's say that Allen County has someone that they're in the same boat, and they bring them over for us to house. If that situation goes through and is planned, then it's Allen County responsibility to come get them and take them to wherever. We're not going to do that.
Right.
We're just housing.
Just not releasing them out in the general.
That's right. I mean,
our county residents are our county problem.
that's correct.
We're not going to accept problems, other than house them, but we're not going to say, okay, yeah.
Oh, no, let's find you a place to
Yeah.
stay. No, that's not to us.
That was some of the big,
What we're hoping is that this is just an avenue for the mental health community to say, for Coffee County residents, say, you know what? We understand that 6 weeks down the road is going to be your first appointment. So once they're, brought back from Osawatomie or a private institution, then Crosswinds or whoever that this group decides to contract with, then they can have their appointments with Crosswinds. We're looking for something in that break that there is not an avenue for them to get treatment and care. So let's say, and tell you what, send your mental health people down here, in crisis or whatever, and we're gonna get them some housing too. That's not gonna happen. This is a mental health assessment center for the court, for our residents and our people. This is not for us to do assessments on people out of state, out of county. That could happen, but again, we're not here to bring people in here in the mental health world.
that answered one question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a good question, because it'll come up more.
Yeah, it will.
It sounds like it's gonna be well taken care of, so.
Yeah, and I had my thoughts that it would be well taken care of, and that's why I just wanted to add the opportunity to ask that question that was
Yes.
asked to me.
It's a great question, and it needs to be answered. But believe me, we're in the beginning stages here. I'm just getting set at my desk right now, getting ready to start typing up all this information, all of the data that I have to present to you and the public, because those questions need to be answered. And so, believe me, if my door's closed, you see me inside, it's probably me trying to type with, hunt and peck. Knock on the door and come on in, but you'll hear that hunt and peck, it's me trying to type this information up. There's gonna be a media campaign, put it on our Facebook, maybe start our own page, have some public meetings in the community, in every town. What I wanted to do when I was going through election, of course, COVID hit and we weren't allowed to go in place. But we need to have some town meetings and let people ask those questions that I hope to be able to answer. Hopefully with the advanced correctional health care now running in connection with Freedom Behavioral Health, who's the mental health portion of this company that's with Advanced Correctional. They told us in all the meetings that we've had by phone that they're able to take care of this. That's what they do, is correctional health care, mental health care. And we're talking to them. In fact, we're trying to set a meeting right now. I've sent emails out to Tom as the chairman and Wade and the other constituents in our little group here to sit down with a meeting. It's time to wake up, Tim. To have a meeting with them to say, here's what we are going to help you with. This company, Freedom Behavioral Health, does architectural work too, just for mental health establishments. So they are working with Larry Goldberg and say, here's what we've had in the past. Again, sirs, ladies, this is innovative. This will be one of the first ones in the state of Kansas and very few across the United States that is going to be started. It's something that everybody needs, that every sheriff I've spoke with has said, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're doing this. It's needed to be done. How are you doing this? Other people want it because mental health is the key word in corrections. It's a liability every single day we have somebody without having that mental health professionals there to help. And so that's what I'm looking for, is just trying to get some help where I don't get sued tomorrow, today, the next day, because we don't have the staff, the training, or the medical care to take care of people in crisis. That's where I'm at.
What I hear more than anything is the initial cost to the county. We've talked about that a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago, if I remember right, what your facilities actually in a year's costing or a month or whatever now, as opposed to what Goldberg was saying. I think we had a shortfall of 200,000 in a year with Goldberg's figures, if I remember correctly, so.
It's been down a little bit since then, but and here's the thing too that we're wanting to get with Freedom Behavioral Health, is this is not a moneymaker. But thinking again, remembering that this is just a wing off of the facility. Sheriff's Office has nothing to do with this mental health. The mental health board that I'm involved in with Lindsay and the judge and waiting on this, I'm letting them, I'm on that committee, and I'm hoping that they're going to help me go in the right path, because that's who needs to be in the forefront of this mental health wing, if we want to call it, assessment center, whatever we decide to call it. That can be a huge financial assistance in this if we pass a bond or whatever, because again, the hospital is telling us we would love to be able to have somebody to bring to you, because we don't have the staffing or again, the place to put somebody in crisis. And so they're sitting there for days at a time waiting on a bed at Osawatomie or a private place. So if we can send them to you, you have the same level of care, mental health care, we can do that. And I'm working with the hospital on that. That is where it becomes advantageous, and we can get payment from that from either the state, insurance companies. We're looking at federal funding to help us along with this. That also goes with the court system. If a person comes in and has a drug addiction, and Judge Wine says, you know what, you're going to have to do a 14-day inpatient treatment. This facility is supposed to be able to, according to the doctor, Dr. Caldwell, who's head of Freedom Behavioral. They said, we can do that. If they need to be in an inpatient treatment, we have the ability, we have the staffing to do that. So again, the state might pay us for those 14 days. That is where it can be very advantageous. One of the statements was that it could possibly bring in with 24 beds, and that's a max that we talked about, possibly bringing in over $1 million of revenue in to help pay the bond issues down and everything else for this. And I'm gonna say it, everybody that I've spoke with says the day you open the doors, we're in the same boat you are. We'll have somebody to bring over problem. Again, we're in the beginning stages, but that's what I'm looking at for the county is hopefully the taxpayers may have to dish out this money to begin to build it, but it will shortly thereafter come back to us for an easy payoff because of the money that we have. Nominal alone, everybody says, on why you need 78 beds. Let's talk about the inmate side. I talk about inmate and mental health side. The inmate side, jail side. People say 78 beds, you need 78, you can house 26 or 28 now. True. I can put them on the floors, in boats, with a blanket, and hopefully there's not a bunch of fights and everything else because of the small space. If you have 78 beds and you can only fill 36, Department of Corrections and the feds have already said the day you turn the keys over, they'll bring people. There are tens of thousands being held all over the state of Kansas and all over the United States because there's no bed space in the federal system. We've already been told that you open it, let us know how many cells you got open. So that then will help again, break that cost down again because we're taking in farms instead of farming out. So we're helping to pay for some of that by bringing those inmates in.
And that's the other thing I've heard is, okay, once that person served his time, he just gets let out the door and he gets to roam the streets of.
It's just like anything else. If, let's say, for example, Woodson County
He
brings us farms out a person to us. When it's done, Woodson County comes and gets them. I mean, that's, because we're just holding them. They've got court in Woodson County, they're gonna go back to Woodson County, they're gonna get sentenced and whatever the sentence is, time served or whatever, they're in Woodson County. The court doesn't, we're not getting, what's the word I'm looking for? The case is not being transferred here, change of venue or whatever it may be. That's not being changed here. All we are is a motel for inmates.
Motel 6.
That's right, Motel 6 with bars. We'll keep the lights on for you. So that's where we're at.
Well, I mean, you spoke of federal prison being a place for people to go. So a federal prison brings an inmate here and he finishes out his time, or is he waiting on court dates? What's he?
Again, it's everything. It could be whatever they say.
But again, I mean, if he's just gonna serve 3 months and then.
It's not that way.
Just
So what
open the
we would be
door,
housing
your
is,
thing.
and we could specify in any contract. Excuse me. Let's say that we say we're gonna have a federal contract for ICE. Then we're housing for them. Whether they go through deportation, whether they go through criminal courts, again, all we are is a Motel 6 with bars.
So when their time's served, then they have to come.
Again, they're not being served, they're being held, detained for court purposes. They're not saying, okay, he's got a year's, commitment time, he has to go to jail. We're housing people because they don't have bed space to put them in before they go to court.
So simply, we're saying where you come from and where you're going back.
That's right. That's all we're doing is we're a Motel 6. When you leave Motel 6, you don't plan to stay at Motel 6. You plan on getting your time there and leaving.
Carl's raising his hand.
Chase County, that's how they pay for their jail. They take ICE. They take the ICE inmates.
Yeah.
And they'll know, they won't know until, I don't know if they'll radio them, but they'll bring in a series of them at a time. And then when they're bonded or let loose, then they come in, get them, take them out, take them back where they're headed. That's how Chase County paid for theirs.
How soon, do you know how soon they paid for it?
Carl?
Don't know that. All I know is they built a brand new facility. The health department was part of it, is attached because they got to be able to take care of the inmates and do disease investigation in case they do have a disease outbreak. I know that they employ a full-time nurse over there to help out with that too. So, theirs has been around probably for 25 years, Tom?
Oh, yeah.
At least that, but they didn't take them long to pay it off because they take ICE inmates.
I don't know how this is gonna work. But let's, and I thought scenarios, sitting in the motel room when we were up in Wyoming last week, viewing some of these jails. You know, if Coffee County says, you know what, it's gonna be $20 million to build this facility, jail and mental health wing. And this commission decides that it's something that they want to be involved in, and we pay for, let's just say $10 million of it. Believe me, $10 million, if we're making over $1 million a year on this, that 20-year bond or whatever it is gonna be paid off in a very short period of time. If you say, you know, we're gonna do a 1 cent sales tax or a half cent, whatever it may be, for the entire portion, again, this is gonna be paid off early. There is nobody in the state of Kansas right now that's housing inmates, whether it be federal or local, you know, non-federal, let's put it that way, that's not paying off their bonds early because there is no bed space. Everybody is farming people out. Wichita, Kansas City have all built brand new facilities, 800, 900 bed facilities, and they're still farming out. They have 2 vans completely full going north and south twice a day. So again, it's there. It's just hopefully, when I made this statement, you know, to Larry Goldberg the first time I met about, I sure wish we could do something with our mental health issues. And his eyes lit up and said, what do you mean? And it blossomed from there. And once I talked to our mental health board about it, the hospital who was there, of course, jumped on the bandwagon and said, what can we do to help? What do we got to do to make this work? And so this was not planned. This was just me spitballing in our meeting. And it's gone someplace now that everybody wants to be involved with it because it's something that we need here in Coffee County for our people, not for inmates, for people. For the citizens that don't have that ability to have open bed space, and that's never going to happen in the state of Kansas because they're not going to build a new mental health facility in the state. So we're stuck. And unfortunately, that says sheriff, and unfortunately, when I get sued, your name is going to be on the same document. And so we are just trying to eliminate that. You know as well, I've said this before. In 4 months, what's the #1 liability for sheriffs and for county commissioners in the state? Jails. More lawsuits occur in the state of Kansas and the United States over jails than any place else. So every day we try to be vigilant about what we do and keep people safe, make sure that they're fed the right caloric intake, make sure their needs are met medically, mentally. But there's a gap, a loophole, and we're just hoping to fill that gap with this project. So hopefully I'll have a lot more information for you at a later time, and hope you have more questions. Thank you. Okay, thank you, gentlemen, ladies, thank you. I'm out of here, sir. See you later.
You bet.
All right.
See, when you ask a question about a voucher, you get all the information. So, your call there.
You know, my thought after I brought the issue up, and to me it is a little bit of an issue, but the other side of it is just like Tom's talking about. You know, it appears to be a huge undertaking Coffee County needs to definitely get involved in. There's the other side of it. The quicker we release that to Larry, that may tell him the quicker we want to get involved in this project. So there's to me, there's probably a positive side to it too. So
He knows.
I brought it up to me. I have no problem going ahead with it.
I would go ahead.
Because to me, that sends him a message. We're ready to move, although we got to go to the citizens.
He knows Coffee County's invested.
I'm sorry?
He knows Coffee County's invested. And he's invested as well.
Matter is dead on that one.
So I asked Carl to come in for just a minute. If you recall, last week or the week before, they all run together, that $1.5 million that's sort of looming in the background, that under the, I forget what it's called now, the American Rescue Plan Act.
Yeah.
We're getting that starting to get information from them. I don't know if the funds have been dispersed yet. I mean, I think it's sometime soon. So last year when we had the coronavirus funds come through, emergency management took the lead and sort of steered the ship in the right direction. Russell did that. Carl has communicated to me because I was forwarding him the emails that I was getting, and for a variety of reasons, and he can explain to you better than I can, but I don't think emergency management is in a position to be able to steer the ship this time. There's too much going on, and I think right now the board needs to be thinking of, if emergency management's not going to steer the ship regarding these funds, then who is it going to be? I like to stay ahead and not be in react mode, so we're going to try to be proactive here. Think about it, those funds are coming, and how those funds get dispersed is going to be the next project.
What are they to be dispersed to?
Well,
We
there's
don't know
some,
that yet, do
We don't know that.
we're waiting for the guidance from the federal government. It appears that the funds are going to be dispersed, and then they're going to tell you afterwards what your parameters are.
The cities are all gonna get a chunk of money too.
Okay.
And the county gets a chunk of money. And then the one webinar I tuned into, they were so broad, you really couldn't get an idea of how we would really do it. But this being an exercise year for us, even though KDM has appealed it, we're gonna go ahead and ramp up as a county, like this is an exercise, a FEMA graded exercise year. We start training our people back up, because we've been 2 years without doing any type of training with all of our people to be ready for a graded exercise. And I'm still on the learning curve, going up on my learning curve, and then we also have Woodson County. So with me getting a little bit of a handicap in this situation, I don't want to place the full emphasis on my staff when we need everybody available to get ready for the graded exercise and get people trained up within Coffee County. But it's broad, and the last email I got on it is everybody's still grinning and laughing because the current administration has given no guidance. And the only thing they said is that there's going to be some limitations of how you use last disbursement with this disbursement, but they haven't printed it. So to me, the word, until you see the words on paper, it's hard to place any faith in what they're going to do.
Didn't they even add townships on this one too?
When the webinar I was on was very specific in saying that they're still defining that down, because in Kansas, we have, cities and towns. We don't have townships like they do, or not. Just trying to think, on the East Coast of the parishes, they haven't defined those areas down, but they said all cities and towns would be getting something. Now, they didn't say how much or what, but the counties, we've been labeled about how much that we will get. And I think ours was 1.5 is what they were talking about. Now, Amber did a great job picking up where Russell left off and done it, but it takes an amount of time to keep everything organized, the paperwork in place, and keeping a track. And Amber's one of my key staff that I have that's going to help us that helps us plan and train people to be ready for that coming exercise.
I would think until we kind of know the guidelines, I don't want to be this like the federal government was a few years ago, pass it and then we'll tell you what to do with it. I think until we get the guidelines, I'm not sure we know who we would like to have in charge of it.
Well, I'm just bringing it out right now so you can be thinking, because I think what will happen is it will probably be ramped out, and then if it's like the coronavirus money last year, you have an end date where it all has to be spent by. So if we're not thinking ahead, then we're going to be searching for someone, and if there's a deadline when the money has to be spent, not only spent and allocated by, then we're going to be playing catch up, and I don't want to see that happen.
Wade's on the right page. We'll just have a seed plan to have a general idea where we want to go once we get the guidance and the money's dispersed. We don't want to fumble around, so to speak, and be waiting.
I guess I missed that. I didn't know the cities were getting money. I thought the counties were getting money.
They're going to get something. I can't tell you what.
I thought the way I understood it was the county gets the 1.5 and it's up to them to see who.
Maybe I missed something. I'm not going to say I'm absolutely 100% correct, because in that webinar, there's a lot of questions and ambiguity.
Yes.
This was coming out, but there's some city, they didn't draw the line on how small or parishes versus townships.
Right.
They were still defining that down.
Parishes are actually county in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
They're still as what they said, we're still working on some of the terminology.
Yeah.
And so we don't have no direct words to go by of how this is directly going to be defined, and so it's hard to make that decision.
The CARES money was distributed out to businesses, where I think this one's totally different, but let's wait and see what the guidance is, I should say.
If you read what the language in the act itself, some of what my understanding is it can be used for is water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. But what does that mean? What I think is water, what you think is sewer, what we all think is broadband might be 8 different things. And then there's some other terminology. So if you recall, the last time we did this, we thought we understood, and we were having Goldberg do the internal study here at the courthouse. And by definition, and I still think that we were right, although someone at a higher level gets to make the decision. They didn't think that what Goldberg did met the definition, and I disagree. Because not only did that money have to be spent for those plans, but then whatever those recommendations were, you had to purchase and install by the end of the year. How do you know what you need until you have it, until you have the plan? So, but they changed the goalpost, so to speak, and they came out with guidance many months later that said, oh, well, here, you have this guidance. Well, when that decision was made, that guidance wasn't out there. And we were operating under what the plain language of that particular law said.
To reinforce what he said, some of the language it used is that you're not going to be able to use it this time in conjunction with the CRF, but they didn't define what those things were. What is the corrosion release fund? And so until you see that, for me, I'm always very cautious because I always like to use the terminology. Words mean things until they define them and put them in the written language to where we see what the glossary and what the acronyms mean. Then we're speculating. And Wade and I was both in agreement on, we just want to make sure we have a seed plan so we have the general direction of where we're going to go.
I'll be planning ahead.
And if it's not done right, then you end up potentially have the same type of design and idea. You have somebody who is sort of the master of ceremonies. You have a committee would be the idea similar to what we had last time, and then how that money goes out. You have that committee make sort of vet behind the scenes and then make the recommendation to the board so it goes out. That seemed to work well the last time, but until we know the parameters. So the idea would also be you have to be able to have somebody who knows what they're doing so that if there's an audit later on down the road, there's a paper trail. And that paper trail, so somebody has to be very detail oriented and make sure that all this documentation is in order. So if the feds ever come in and say, well, what did that $250,000 go to? Can be thrown on the table and, okay, there's no issues. And the same thing had to happen with the coronavirus relief funds that the emergency management was mainly responsible for. That was a big undertaking.
That was the one where it went to businesses for like hand washing stations and stuff like that. In my eyes, that was a better joke. There was people that got money that didn't even change anything. I mean, they got $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 and they didn't change a darn thing. And I think there should have been some accountability on that. I think there should have been checks. But I mean, I'm not putting it back on you guys, but it was just, here's $4,000, now you're I didn't care for that.
They haven't put anything in the print yet, and that's what makes it, where we want to keep an eye on it. And then they'll probably give us a very limited deadline, just like they did the CRF.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to let's looking ahead, but you haven't told us what we were looking ahead for yet. So we kind of know, we don't really know who to put in charge, in my opinion. We don't know until we kind of know where we want to go.
Right.
I mean, if we're talking total mental health, yeah, I don't want Carl in charge of it.
I don't blame you.
I mean, that's just, Carl.
I get it. But what this is we just want to make this, so it's in the back of everybody's minds that we're not blindsiding anybody, or nobody that isn't aware of what we're doing, or what's going on. Because there's times to plant seeds to make sure we got it headed in the right direction.
I don't think pass it and then read it.
Right. So like I said, we're waiting on the Biden administration.
You know, totally with all the unknowns that are there, even though we know something's gonna happen.
That's great.
The time frame may be stretched out a little more than it was last time.
It could be, and it.
Chances are, to me, they'll probably stretch it out because the unknown's coming out.
Right.
That you can't make things happen when you don't know. So I bet you the time frame will be stretched out longer than 4 or 5 months like it was last time.
Right.
But that's an unknown too, so.
The PPP was stretched out, just like everything else, so I would assume so as well. Wait and
So
see.
the devil's in the details and that hasn't came out.
Wait,
So,
wait till we know what we're supposed to know.
okay. Any other questions?
Not for me.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I think we're done signing everything up.
No,
No,
No?
No, and, we still have the,
look at me, that'd be a good question.
well, it'll be the ancillary checks coming with like Benefits Direct and, some of those other, the paychecks and everything, you signed all that. This is just be the deduction checks, so. We had a problem with our software, no issues to be concerned about. They're having to reset our accounting for some reason, and Denise worked with CIC on that, so. If anything, we might have to
Hold that.
call you to see if you need your stamp or have you come in and sign, and then we can have the doctor sign next Monday.
I'm talking,
It will not be available Friday,
it doesn't matter.
so that will be tomorrow and the rest of the day today.
Yeah, but we'll see, I mean, she may, let me check and see where she's at, because I know she's on the phone with them.
Well, that wasn't too bad, I don't think.
All right,
Waiting for that broken county truck.
Let's go park back in Ted.
I'm assuming so.
Much was it?
2908, just to diagnose what was wrong with it and push it out of the
So
shop.
that truck out west.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean,
we expected that to be a fairly good sized bill, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's cheaper than what it could have been. You are something, yeah.
What'd you say? Ian?
she still has the issue, so they're working on it.
Well, again, I'll be,
We'll just call you.
I guess got a meeting at 1 and then we go to the 4 a.m.
Emails.
I'll be back by 3 today. After lunch tomorrow and then we'll go Friday. We'll have a-
Yeah, then you gotta get it out. I'll take it. I didn't realize you guys had a few more up on there.
Where's your tire located? I got two.
Casey's and Levo Jesse, is it fully finished and open?
Yep, and let me tell you, if you don't have time to stop and wait, you got a 10-minute wait when you go in there, it seems like. I mean, there's so many people in and out
I
of
went
that
there
thing.
for you, they seen the signs up, so I figured it probably.
Yeah. Really starting to get semis off the road now, coming in, getting fuel. At the start, it was a little slow, and now you started.
It'll take a little time.
Yeah, it'll be the biggest downfalls there, truck parking. You know, so many of these truck stops and these rest areas fill up by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no place for people to sleep, so they sleep on them get-on ramps and get-off ramps, which is extremely dangerous. And Casey's just didn't have enough
Do
property.
they have a sit-down area in there for the truckers?
No,
So they, right now, just a fuel up.
Just fuel go, grabbing.
I thought they might even put a set down area in there.
I thought maybe they'd have a couple, tables, so it's, people get to sit out and eat, and, have your coffee drinkers in the morning, but I guess they just,
That may be something Casey's don't get into, I don't
yeah.
know.
There's a couple that I know that had that before the COVID, but they did away with them.
I wouldn't call it a true truck stop. I mean, up in Iowa, they have the big Casey's truck stops, and they're a lot bigger. If they could have acquired some of the property adjacent to the west and to the south, I think they'd have done something more there, but just didn't have the room. But yeah, I bet their sales have, I'm gonna say tripled, just on people in and out. I'd like to see it, fast food, something come across, come in there to add more revenue.
Get a Subway or something else in there close.
Yeah, there's Subway 7 miles, Vito, I'd like to see something else,
You got Wendy's down there too, the Vito.
Yeah.
It'd have to be.
Yeah, I would think somewhere along the line of Popeye's Chicken or Cane's Chicken.
Is there any Popeye in Kansas?
Up in Topeka. Chick-fil-A, there's Chick-fil-A and Popeyes in Topeka.
I know the Chick-fil-A's around, I didn't know it was in Popeyes around.
Yeah, Popeyes on Topeka Boulevard.
It's amazing how busy they are in Lawrence.
Oh,
I've never been there that you're not in line, but the line moves fast. Oh, yeah, they do.
For chicken, it's pretty good. Chick-fil-A, they have people actually out there writing down your order.
Oh, yeah. They don't even wait for you to get to the area where you're supposed to order.
I don't know how Freddy's out there to work, Freddy's became pretty popular the last
Freddy's is
4 or 5 years.
very popular, and it starts from a good, it's got a good background.
Yeah.
But the background on this, I think, got it
Pretty
started.
affordable.
And then their quality of food, to me, their quality of food and service is pretty good.
It's a good place to eat, but it's bad for you.
Yeah, there's nothing. I was gonna eat light there one time, I thought, well, I'll just get the chili cheese fries.
At Freddy's?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got grandkids along there, thing, even their own kids. If there's a Freddy's close by, that's where we're stopping.
Ice cream's too good.
I haven't tried their ice cream.
Oh,
I'm
you
too full.
better not.
I'm too full for it. Get there, Tim.
It's yogurt. I don't care if it's yogurt.
It's not good. Yeah. Thank you.
Wrap it up,
I did.
we can go around the table real quick, see
I
anybody
have
have
nothing
anything.
today.
Nothing today.
See you on Monday.
I'm not gonna break the cycle.
Okay, well, then we will adjourn at 11:12.
Or is the wellness, are we having dinner here today?
What's the day to walk for lunch?
Yeah, it's the walk.
I'm sorry? Today is the walk at lunch deal, or?
Somebody just walked by with
Voucher
trays
then,
of food.
Wellness meal today.
Yeah, today.
For the people that walk.
Okay. And that's fine with me. But we gotta be back here at 12:30, right? Yeah.
I go over and cruise around town.
Could drive across the
Somebody
bridge.
just walked by with trays of sandwich stuff in it.
I'm gonna walk to my truck and head northwest.
Does he have a good week?
I'm not gonna break any more tile by hand. Thank God my son was there.